In this video, we're going to be focusing on a topic that is always important when you're doing rhinestone design, and that is how to go about filling a particular design. And recently I had a customer say, well, geez, how do you get your rhinestone fills so perfect? And the truth of the matter is that there is a bit of trickery involved in that you really need to know what you're doing, first of all. That's the most important thing. The other thing in this particular design, you can see that here for the crystal fill of the design, we actually use both SS6 stones and SS10 stones. And why that's important to point out is that you do get a better fill if you use a mixture of stones versus just using one particular stone size. Rhinestone design in general really, to get great results, really does take a bit of knowledge, and it is kind of a process that you just have to work through. And I've done so many designs and tried this and tried this and tried that, and that is now where, because I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of designs, pretty much it's pretty easy for me to look at any design and say, okay, this is how to tackle this design. So let's talk a little bit about this little Miss Skully design that we did the other day for the design of the day. What I did, first of all, let's look at our artwork. So I found this piece of clip art on the internet, and this is basically how we tackled this design. What we did was we filled the entire head. We filled that with rhinestones, and then once we had that completely full of rhinestones, then we went ahead and stoned out these two for the eyeballs and the little nose shape here. And then once we did that, we set these stones for these objects on top of the fill for our head, deleted any overlapping stones, and then just basically worked the design. You can see here as we zoom in here. So we filled the whole head shape with SS10 stones first, and then we just filled in. You can see here we dabbled some SS6s in order to get a nice fill around the nose. Same thing with our eyeballs. We dabbled a few sixes here and there throughout the fill. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of focus on a couple of design principles that I think will be interesting for you to kind of try out yourself and get a better understanding of how we go about creating fills here inside CorelDRAW with EasyStone. So let's just start with our bow shape. And the first thing we're going to do, obviously, is the middle part, because that's the easiest part. So let's go ahead and fill this with rhinestones. So what I decided to do the outline in SS6 stones and the fill in SS10s. So the first thing we want to do is come over here to our stone tab, and we have this button right here, which is our advanced offset options. So we'll go ahead and open that up. So what we're going to do is we're going to do sixes around the outside to 10. So we choose the 6 to 10 option. And because we're going to the inside, then we just click on create offset. If we were going to want to do the outside, then we would right click and that would send it to the outside. So left click to create that offset on the inside. And that gets us to this point here. Now from here, this shape, we're now going to do an offset of SS10 stones. So the first thing we need to do is here in our form, you can see our current stone size is 2.6, which is for SS6 stones. So we right click on SS10 and that changes our stone size here. Now the amount of offset is automatically calculated for us based on the stone size and the spacing between stones. So by default, we're just going to leave it, for now, we're going to leave it at this. Now when I click Island Fill, you can see we get a couple more island fills. So now let's go ahead and apply some stones and see what we actually have. So we're going to go ahead and right click on Hot Pink, and let's add some hot pink stones to our first shape. So we'll go to add stones. That takes care of that. Then let's add some hot pink stones to our next shape. That takes care of that. And you can see right here in the middle, there really isn't room but for one stone. So we'll delete that. Now this secondary shape, these stones look a little bit tight. So I'm just going to click on one of them and then right click on my plus minus here on the stone tab. and that will drop one stone. Okay? And now with that done, now we can come in here and select these. We'll hit delete stone paths, and we'll do check spacing. There are no overlapping stones, well that's good. And we'll drop one here in the middle. The next thing, of course, to do is to take our outside ring and apply some SS6 stones to that. So we're going to set our stone size by right-clicking SS6. We're going to select our stone color, which in this case we're using jet black, and we're going to add stones. Pretty painless so far, right? Let's go ahead and delete our stone paths, and that takes care of the center portion. So that's the easy part. Now what if we go into something a little bit more complicated, which is kind of this weird bow shape here? Well, we're going to show you a couple of things here that I think will be interesting to you. So the first thing we need to do, of course, is we need to go back to our stone fill tab, and we need to click on this advanced offset option, because remember, around the perimeter we're going to do 6s, and then we're going to use 10s on the inside. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and go to our advanced offset options. We're going to go from 6 to 10 and click on create offset. Step 1's complete. Now what we need to do is we need to create the island fill offsets for the fill of our bow shape. So we're going to right click on SS10. That sets our stone size. And then we'll go ahead and click on island fill. Now the amount of offset, again, is automatically calculated for us. Now, certainly we can override that, but by default, it's already figured for us. So now we're going to click on Island Fill. It's going to create as many offsets as it possibly can for us, and then we can go ahead and apply stones. Now, one thing that we're going to do a little bit differently here, let's go ahead and set our stone color to hot pink by right-clicking on our quick select hot pink here. That sets our stone color. Let's just start with our inside one. We'll go from the inside out. So what I'm going to do is double click. That changes to my shape edit tool, and I'm going to tell Easy Stone put a stone right there, hold my shift key, put a stone right there, and hold my shift key and put a stone right there. Okay? And then when I come over here to the stone tab, I'll click on add stones. Now once in a while you'll get this weird message, type mismatch. You won't know what that is, but just go ahead and click OK. And you can see what's happened here. Now I'm actually going to clear these stones out, because all I wanted to do was add stones to this first piece right here. Then we'll go and click on our next shape here. And we'll click that, hold our shift key down, click, click. Just those four corners. We're saying we definitely want stones right there. So we'll go ahead and choose add stones again. That sets those. And then the next one here, this next one right here, we're just going to do right there. Hold our shift key and right there. We want two stones right there, and here, and here. And we'll go ahead and add stones. Again, sometimes you'll get that type mismatch error. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and clear stones out on our outside ring. But these right here, this is what we really want to focus on. Those right there. And we'll go ahead and hit add stones. And so now you can kind of see how that's been filled in. Now, obviously, it's not a perfect fill. We've got some work to do, but we'll show you how to make that adjustment pretty easily. So now on our outside, we want those to be 6s. So we're going to double click on our outside. We're going to say at that node right there and this one right here, place a stone. We're going to right click to change our stone color to black. We're going to right click on SS6 to change our stone size to SS6. Then when I click on add stone, it'll go ahead and add stones around that perimeter. All right, now you can see right down here though, we've got kind of a cluster going on. There's all kinds of overlapping stones. There are some issues there, but we can fix those issues quite simply. So let's just go ahead and select that whole mess that's causing a problem. Let's delete our stone paths, and let's check spacing. And that will get rid of most of the issues, leaving us with just a couple of issues. So you can see here, we'll just manually select a couple extra stones there, and where this is coming down and around, you can see there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our respace tool over here on the editing tab to fix the stone spacing right along here. We're just going to even that out. So we'll hit respace, and that will even that out Down here, we'll do the same thing. We'll select these stones going across here. We'll even that out as well, and so on and so forth. So we can even those out once we get all of our bow pieces together. Now here's something that I'm going to show you that's kind of interesting, and then we're going to go back a couple of steps. You can see that the stone spacing here is pretty dense. When you're working with a single stone size and a rhinestone fill with an odd shape, it becomes problematic just because of the way it is. Now we do have this respace function. You can see here like these two stones are touching. So what we could do is we could come in here, select these stones, and hit respace, and it would fit that. It would just kind of space that apart. But look at this problem right here. See this problem right here? That becomes a problem. We would really like to do this bow in all SS10 stones, but because of the weird shape, now these little spacing issues like this one, we could select these stones going that way, hit respace. That fills that in pretty good, and we could come in here and hit respace there, and that'll kind of take care of that pretty good. And same thing here, we could come in here and hit respace, and you know that does a pretty decent job there. And we can go the other direction too, certainly, so we can go more vertical, take care of that spacing. Sometimes when you go horizontal it kind of messes up the vertical, so we can, you know, kind of go back and forth. And you can see pretty simply, we'll go ahead and maybe put in an extra stone. We'll go vertical here, hit respace. So you can see that kind of takes care of that. It's a little bit tight there as far as the stone spacing goes. And we'll hit respace there and kind of clean that up. And then maybe we'll go horizontally again and respace. Okay, but there's always going to be, you know, depending on the shape that you're working with, you know, that gap right there bugs me. But, you know, it's kind of a catch-22. What we could try to clean that up, what we could do is just move this stone into position like we need it. Going horizontally, we're going to have to drop a stone because there really isn't room. So let's just go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and respace and then drop one stone by right-clicking. That'll drop a stone, just like so. You can see that. So that's taking care of that. And then what we can do here is move this into position. Let's go ahead and respace these going across. Let's try dropping a stone from that too. And then we can just go from here and kind of fill it in going vertically. And you can see with a little bit of playing around, you know, we'll go horizontally now. And you can see you can get a reasonably good fill. You can see here we could go horizontally this way. Okay, so it's a reasonably good fill, and you know, most people would be perfectly happy with that. And yeah, I probably would be happy with that. You know, what we see on screen doesn't really convey the exact same way on a shirt. Now, having said this, what if we look at just a slightly different design principle? And this is just something to consider when you're doing your design work. So we've seen what we've done up to this point, and we're trying to keep one stone size. This is a pretty basic shape. So on a pretty basic shape like this, we should only need one stone size. On a more complicated shape, such as this head, when the bow interacts with it, when the eyeballs interact with it, we're definitely going to have to use SS6s. There's just really no way around it to get the best result. But I do want to show you this bow, and we're going to make a slight adjustment. But you'll see, I think, right off how different, just that tiny little adjustment, how different the fill is, and how much easier it is to get the result that we really want. So let's go ahead and go through the process again. So we're going to start by going to our advanced offset here, 6 to 10, right? we're going to set our stone size to SS10s, and then we're going to, this is where the change happens. We're going to do an island fill just like we did before. But remember I said Easy Stone uses the stone size and the spacing to determine what the island fill offset should be, which in this case is 3.9. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a tiny little adjustment, just a 0.5 millimeter, and watch the difference here. So we're going to change this offset. Instead of 3.9, we're going to use 4.4, so we made just a 0.5 millimeter difference, which, you know, is very, very small adjustment. But we'll go ahead and choose Island Fill. It'll go ahead and do these island fills. So the outside here, remember we're going to do the outside in 6s. So let's set our stone color, our stone size, and add stones. Okay, that takes care of that. Step 1's complete. We have the outside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do our inside, which is hot pink and SS10s and add stones. And you can see it's added the stones. Now we're going to do our next line. The same thing. We're going to pick, we want 2 stones right there. We're going to go ahead and choose add stones, and it adds those. Here we're going to say we want a stone there, 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 and there at the points. So we'll add stones there. And then here we want 1 stone at the point, and at these 2 points, and add stones. Alright, and we'll delete stone paths. So the next thing we want to do is check for any overlapping stones. So we'll select these and hit check spacing. Found 12 overlapping stones. And so now we're going to do the exact same process we just did over here. But watch the difference. So we're going to go ahead and drop a stone there. And come in horizontally. Respace. We're going to add a stone here. Respace. And I don't know. Let's try adding a stone. See what that does. Respace. I think that'll work out okay. Then here we'll just move this stone back a little bit. We'll delete this one. And then we'll come in this direction. And we'll respace. Do you see the difference, what I was talking about? If you look at this stone fill, you can see it looks quite good. In fact, if we were to take both of these, let's just do it quick. Let's take both of them, throw it behind a weed box. Let's simulate both of these. And let's change our background color. Do you see the difference though? What you found is when we did the first scenario, because we used a tighter stone spacing, we had to do a lot more fixing and moving and manipulating and moving a stone here and there. We have a nice result, but it took a lot more work to get that result than our secondary result. In fact, let's do this. Let's come in here and let's delete this part of the design right there. So we're kind of comparing apples to apples here. What I'd be interested in knowing is over here, what kind of stone count do we have? So here we have 134 stones. You can see that there. And then over here we have 131 stones. So that's interesting. I would have expected a lot bigger difference. Tell you what, let's do this. Let's check spacing on both of those. Okay, there were a couple overlaps, but that's not very significant. So let's do this again. Let's look at the stone count over here. 134, and the stone count here was 130. That's quite interesting. I didn't expect that. So we modified the amount of our offset by a 0.5 millimeter, and you could see that the end result, we had a lot less manipulating to do because we had just that extra tiny little bit of room to work with. I think we have a nice uniform fill here. I think we have a nice uniform fill here as well. But to get this result took a lot more tweaking than to get this result. So that's just a design principle that I kind of, after doing so many designs, that's one of the things I realized. If I just backed off on the stone density as far as the island fill goes, just back off that just a little bit, that will have a tremendous impact on the overall look of our design. We'll have a whole lot less of manipulating, and at the end of the day, we still have a really good looking design. So I hope you try this little experiment out, and then of course when you get to your own design work, think about that when you're doing your rhinestone fills. Back off on that stone density just a little bit, and I think you'll see you'll have a lot easier time at getting a much more uniform look without a lot of modification required. And of course, that respace tool here is gonna help you greatly to get stones, spread across the design quite easily as well too. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you learned a little something, and I hope the process will make your design work easier. Thanks for watching.